Hello teacups, what's brewing? So we are back and we've been on quite a journey with Foodie recently. I actually have slightly misled you in my title here today. So we have the eating pizzas because it makes haters mad, I think she named it, live stream. But I'm actually only going to be reacting to a few minutes of that live stream. I'm sure there are other reaction channels out there that will address it, discuss it, and no one's going to be hurting for my take on it. But this live stream, I put a few extracts in so you can kind of see where she is. And dudes, before the part I'm going to talk about, there was a lot to unpack. Her dreaming about BB every night and wanting to breastfeed his kids, that was a thing. Like, there were some points there, let's put it that way. But eventually, as these rage lives always do, it degenerates into her same old argument of hating the haters and reaction channels, and I do what I want, and I eat what I want, and it's no one's business, and I eat what it's my channel. Yeah? So we're going to watch a little bit of that, I'm going to talk about it, but then that led me to something else. And let's get into it, and we'll talk about it in a bit, okay? So this is Chantal just in a car in the middle of nowhere, hatefully eating pizza to show us. And I was like, oh, no, clearly it's us she's hurting here.
Because she's mad organic that I stick up for myself. You know, that's the thing, that's what bullies do. You know, they dish it out all day long to make themselves look superior. And the minute you clap back, they turn it around, claim victim, and go at it 3 times fold.
She is seething here. To be clear, it is a rage life. She's discussing at this point, I think the name is now Miss Hussey, the former Miss Gloria, the artist formerly known as Miss Gloria, who is back on YouTube. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. So Chantal went and left some comments on the channels that she definitely does not watch, that she reiterated she does not watch. She doesn't ever watch a whole video. Like, watching 99% of a video I think counts, but let's split the hairs, why not? But that's who she's discussing. So she's not happy about it, and we'll go from there.
So that's what she thinks she's doing by reacting to my videos or making comments on my weight. Whatever. I still think I'm beautiful. What you think of me? Like, as if I'm going to be bothered what you think of how I look.
She's clearly very bothered, and we've been into this. This is why I'm not reacting to the whole thing, because we have been into a lot of this, yeah? But you don't rant for an hour and a half on a live stream in the dark while mainlining pizza because it hasn't bothered you, yeah?
Look, seriously. You know, I'm not losing sleep at night thinking, oh no, they don't like my double chin. Oh no.
It is actually the middle of the night right now, so it's about 11 p.m. when she's filming this.
I have no interest in being civil with these people.
Okay.
I'm never going to ever, like, you know, like I talk about this in general in my, it's not just about certain individuals, like I said. It's just like the hypocrisy of it. So, you know.
She doesn't have to like us. That's fine. I don't need her to be
Like,
civil.
if you don't think it's messed up that like a 50-year-old
She's so angry about Miss Hussey.
Or old woman or whatever, like, they're disgusting. They're absolutely disgusting. And I'm sorry, but it's true.
She keeps snorting. It's
like, I'm
distracting.
completely unstable and infantile. Like,
let's be careful with the labels we throw around. Let's check a mirror first, yeah? Okay, just between you and me.
I'm absolutely age shaming somebody who's that age, who's acting like a fucking child. And
how much younger are you?
others. Yes, absolutely. You should be age shamed if you're that age and bullying other people. Okay? Like, I'm putting it into context for you.
Ooh. This word, context. This is the reason this has been included, because of course she's raging at people. But context is going to be a key term for the rest of this video, for everything we're about to do. Because I do think a lot of the time, because she's so emotionally led, because she does, whether she admits it or not, have a disorder based around eating, whatever the technical term for it would be, whether it's binge eating, whether it's food addiction. She's got a very disordered way of thinking around food. But she does have a tendency to forget, deny, or willfully ignore her own context. And this is where this video led me. So please keep that term in mind, and I'm gonna let her, I've got another few minutes just on this, and then we're gonna move on to something else.
But try again. Next.
Next.
Oh, I don't think so, Marho. I don't think so, honey. I'm not doing anything to violate policies by eating on camera. I'm eating a meal. What was wrong with my meatloaf meal? Like I said, YouTube cannot discriminate. Fat people eating.
Fat people, no. I mean, they're not a protected category because fat is changeable. It's not an intrinsic attribute. However, there are plenty of fat people online that, you know, aren't facing issues. There's no reason for them to, unless you give them reason to. That would be the context. And we'll see in a minute.
Like, I'm sorry. Now, if it's a harmful act, like eating challenges, they don't like those, but they still keep them up.
Or other destructive behaviors.
That's different. You're allowed to eat a meal. People eat.
Yeah.
We're human. We need to eat. Even fat people need to eat.
Yeah.
The fact that people think they don't need to eat is what causes eating disorders in the first place. Restriction doesn't work. Diets do not work. It's more harmful for you to not eat the slice of pizza than it is to work, you know what I mean? Like obsess about it after and cause yourself to have a negative attitude with food. So, please, try again.
I plan to, just a minute.
I've never had a diet work. You guys? Not for long term.
Well, we know.
Maybe for at first, and then I gained the weight back. I started eating again. Everything in sight.
That would be your disorder.
Diet.
Just got another minute or so.
I did one eating challenge where I had 7 cheeseburgers.
Yes, you did.
Self-harm. We already talked about that. How is it self-harm to eat something?
We're gonna get into it. But you have talked about it, but not just in this live stream, and that's more the point.
Go ahead.
Okay.
How many people have reported it for self-harm? Hello? Eating a dinner is not self-harm.
I would argue that, except that she refuted me in a different video. So, but the meatloaf mukbang does seem to have triggered a few things, and I don't know if it was just maybe the environment is the wrong word, but the kind of tone of her audience right now and how everyone's feeling and all the tension there. It could just be it needed a little thing to catch fire. Because of all her videos, and she's got some out there, the meatloaf one, while pretty terrible, wasn't unusually bad, wasn't extreme. It was meatloaf. It wasn't good meatloaf. It wasn't a particularly healthy meal. It showcased her weird obsession with both sauces and pickles, but it wasn't an extreme amount of food the way a lot of her other videos have been.
If I was like actually, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna binge here and like eating till I puke, that's self-harm.
Okay, so we're gonna finish there. So there is a reason that I left that there. That comment led me to go and do a search on her channel. Now, I'm not the first to do this. People have looked at her channel before and said, well, no, you say binging in this. But it made me go and look for certain terms on her channel. So I did this. I went into her video history, and in her search bar, I wrote the word binge. And from a quick search, I didn't go exhaustively through all her videos, but from a quick scroll down, this is what came up. I then went and searched the term food addiction, or I think just addiction, maybe. And more videos came up. So the thing is, I haven't shown you all of her life, yeah? But you know her usual argument. You know how it goes. And she's arguing right now, she's concerned that people are reporting her videos. And she's trying to tell people essentially, well, there's no point reporting them, you're being ridiculous. Yeah? And the context of her channel is what makes it a viable argument, and that's what she's desperately trying to get away from. But everything I searched today and every video I'm going to be looking at today is still publicly available on her channel. And when we use the word binge, when we use the word food addiction, when we are talking about these terms, they are not terms we interjected into your narrative. They are terms that you did. And that's the point she's desperately trying to get away from. We are not labeling you. You labeled you. And the context of your channel that you're refusing to acknowledge is very different from this very brash, very confrontational and oppositional persona you're putting on right now, saying, well, YouTube won't do anything about it because it's not harmful behavior. What's harmful to you is going to be different from what's harmful to other people. And I realize that sounds weird, you'd be like, well, it's harmful or it's harmful. But no, context. If you saw an alcoholic drinking alcohol in a video, it would be very different than if you saw a person with no problem with alcohol drinking in a video. Seeing you eat in a video with your history, however much you're trying to scrub it, is different than seeing somebody who has no issue with food eating in a video. And the argument that it's not our business, because, why would it be? You have a channel built around you eating, and you've been determined. You've gone again and again, no, I will do mukbangs. If you build a channel around eating as your main content, then your eating becomes our business, because that's what your channel is about. But anyway, I did these searches, and then, because apparently I wanted a ticket to this field trip, after I looked up the things that you had labeled, the list I brought up either has binge in the title or has binge in the thumbnail. And it's the same with addiction, food addiction. It's either in the title of the video or in the thumbnail. She has plenty of videos on channel that do not include those terms in the description or the name or the thumbnail that discuss it. And two such things came up when I did my next search term. My next search term, you guys, was the word help. And this is what she's forgetting. She's forgetting that she's gone through these cycles before, and she's hit what she thought was her rock bottom before. My very first video on my channel was reacting to her food funeral all those months ago, because food funerals are not unique to people going on diets. They feature heavily in the weight loss surgery community, because we have to go on liquid diets or restricted diets, if not fully liquid. I didn't actually do fully liquids before surgery. And it's very natural when you feel like food's being taken away and it's a huge crutch, as it usually is when you're getting weight loss surgery, to have a funeral because you think you're never going to eat it again. And spoiler alert, you can. It's not going anywhere. It didn't get wiped off the face of the earth. But that mentality of, oh God, I need to take it all before I lose it, it's kind of messed up. And it all forms part of what she goes through with food, and what I myself have been through with food and continue to go through with food. So I typed the word help, and guys, it made me sad. But a few different things came up, and that's actually what we're going to react to today. There is one video that she posted. I'm going to do this in chronological order, so I'm going to go back to the earliest first. She posted this video in March of 2019, end of March 2019. So she has, all the other ones are quite old that I put up, because she has been on a bit of a deleting spree recently, where 5 or 6 of her videos got taken off her channel. We don't know which ones. I haven't gone for a search through to try and match up to any records here. I mean, there are limits, but but I'm guessing they were more recent incriminating ones, because for all she's telling everybody, no, there's no point reporting, YouTube isn't going to do anything. YouTube is somewhat unreliable in how they choose to uphold their rules, and they are being stricter with eating disorders. Now, you could say, well, what are they doing with Eugenia Cooney? She's a massive creator. There's obviously a conflict of interest there because she earns so much for the channel, but yet she's clearly got an eating disorder. And so there's a very grey area there, but sometimes they uphold it and sometimes they don't. And frankly, she doesn't know which way this is going to go. So for all she's talking big, she's trying to cover her bases here. So I'm just going to go into the next video. So this video was called Out of Control. It didn't have food addiction or binging in the title, but this was from last year.
Hey guys. So my camera's gonna do that crazy thing. Oh my goodness. So on a serious note, and I know you're gonna look at this point, if I was I am a YouTube viewer. I wouldn't watch me either at this point because I know I probably look absolutely insane, and you know what? I probably am. I probably am. No. I just don't even. I feel so distant from my own brain. So here's the deal. Oh, sorry, I had to. BB called me. I had to talk with BB about all this, and he offered to come to the hospital with me if I needed to. Which I know a lot of you don't think that I'm in a loving relationship. I hate even addressing that because I know being a YouTuber, people are going to make up all kinds of ridiculous rumors. But he's always there for me, like always there for me whenever I have a medical issue or I'm in trouble. Like, that's why I want to marry the man, because honestly, he's my rock. This
is a little awkward. The hindsight of time.
If it weren't for him, if I was with somebody else like me, I need someone like him to keep me grounded, seriously.
Pizza's not helping her here.
So, well, I don't know what the hell I was thinking that I could be a food addict. I think that a part of me, a lot of the times, still in denial about having an eating disorder, even though a lot of you, have you ever been diagnosed with an eating disorder? Well, I think I told you guys when I went to see the diet doctor, the weight loss doctor, he did a consultation with me, a good hour, and he was like, "Oh, you have an eating disorder." Like,
bear in mind, and it's funny how perspective on this changes, because now that having an eating disorder is not useful to her, because before she was using it as justification for why it was so hard for her to do, and it definitely makes it harder to try and change her life, but she's relied on that as an excuse as well as a reason, and suddenly it might endanger her channel, and so she's really trying to kind of walk it back and minimize it. Whereas here it's like, whoa, no, you have an eating disorder, and she got referred to an eating disorder clinic and etc.
Like, he was, and he's like, "I want to refer you to the eating disorder clinic." And when I told him that my GP already did that, that's when he was like, "Okay, that's good." And he wanted to prescribe me something in the meantime to get the edge off until I can get in, because there's a wait list. And that's why I wanted to go to the hospital and tell them, "Look, I'm eating myself to death." So
I remember this whole saga, and I tell you, it hasn't. Knowing kind of where she is now doesn't make it easier to watch this, because here at least, although she was in dire straits, she somewhat recognized it and looked like she was trying to access the right kind of help. And think of her attitude now versus her attitude in this.
And I watched my 600-pound life last night. Today is Sunday, but I watched it only last night. I know it comes out on Wednesdays. And Kelly is the person that was in that, and God rest her soul, but unfortunately her heart gave out and she passed away. That episode serves as such a wake-up call, hopefully, for a lot of people that are in the same boat, and I'm one of them.
If only it had.
But sometimes it's just too late. Sometimes it's too late to turn your life around.
Think of all the health issues she has had in the last year. Because this was just, about a year and a half ago now. Think of how much worse her health has gotten since her hysterectomy. Just since in 2020. Since moving out from BB's. Since her hysterectomy. And she could see it coming.
Sometimes there's no going back. You've done too much damage to your body already, and it's just too late. Sorry about the camera. So that being said, I don't know what I was thinking that I could do mukbangs the way I've been doing them with the trigger food. And I know that's what I'm saying. I know people are going, duh, hello, you're so you're so frustrating because we've been screaming that and you've been blocking us.
Yes, you have been.
When I have an idea in my head, I'm very stubborn and it's not a good thing. True. So
I think being able to hold on to your ideas is not a bad thing, but I think in this particular case, it does not serve you at all. It just, you will cut off your nose to spite your face.
Oh, I was just like so gung-ho that I could make this work, and you know.
Do you guys remember, I apologize to her like she was here, when we were watching the taco mukbang, and she was like, we'll see, I'm not going to change anything, but we'll see. And then it segued straight into the live where she had just binged on McDonald's. If you haven't, it's pretty early in my channel. I do have it in my channel history. That wasn't the first time she tried that. That probably wasn't even the 10th time she tried that. And she knows deep down it doesn't work.
Thinking that I would have the discipline to eat 4 pieces of pizza, which I did, and I shot the rest out. And it was wasting, but at the same time, it was risky, you know? So I shot it out. And
then
I just got back from a major binge.
Same behavior.
I went to Wild Wing. I had 8 boneless
this is after
wings,
pizza.
An order of fries, and a huge piece of Reese's cheesecake. So, and that's after, after the pizza, I steamed these king crab legs, and I ate them all.
So think about that. She threw away the pizza, then binged on crab legs, and then went out and binged again. Bear in mind, I don't think I included this in my previous clips, but in the live, she did also say she ate the glass chips. Think about that for a minute. The chips that were recalled because they were potentially contaminated with glass. She ate them. When she had other snack foods, she was justifying that, okay, well, it took me 4 days to eat them mixed in with the popcorn. I was like, what? You ate the glass chips and you are seriously using that as an argument that you don't have an eating disorder? What?
So yeah.
You're totally in control, you know.
Not good.
Glass chips. But anyway, the point of this video.
So I have no control. Like, I just don't.
I've been there. I sympathize. I've been there.
My depression is really bad. It's not better since being on this medication. I thought it would be.
Unfortunately, there's only so much medication can do. Like, it can make you a bit more functional. I had to go on antidepressants when I was doing my master's because I was so overwhelmed I couldn't get out of bed and I didn't have time to be in bed, so the fact that I was wasting hours in bed was making me more stressed. But ultimately, taking care of the cause of the depression is what needs to go on there. I had to finish my master's and then I was able to cycle off them. But she's obviously here, she's trying to access help, which is good. She's not doing it right now. She's been talking about anxiety and depression on her channel for a while. Think of her behavior and how it impacts the things that make her depressed and anxious.
I don't know if it just hasn't kicked in yet.
It can take a few weeks.
It every night.
Right. And yet again, she's not consistent with medication, so.
It does make me tired and like sleep better, like I said, but at the same time, I still feel maybe I need to be on different medication. I don't know. So my problem with the mukbangs is, for me as a food addict, because most people who do them are probably not, they're not food addicts like I am. Or
This
have an
becomes
eating
relevant.
disorder.
Yeah.
So doing that, I understand people who know my, whenever I first started doing, I always use that as a defense. When I first started doing my channel, I was doing mukbangs. But most people didn't know about my situation. And a lot about my life at that time. Now people do, and it's probably hard for them to watch mukbangs from somebody knowing that they suffer from an eating disorder.
So that explains that she understands the response she gets from her audience, outside of the fact that she can be a raging bitch. Just the underlying issues, regardless of her personality about it. She understands why her audience has a problem whenever she's like, I don't get it. She's telling us right here.
So I understand that. Such a mess. On top of that, my biggest problem with mukbangs, for me, it's not just, that's one of the major issues, but another one is I was thinking, what kind of message am I giving to other people with my channel? I feel like by doing the unhealthy mukbangs, eating loads of junk, I'm giving a message that's kind of promoting disordered eating, because that's not normal, it's not healthy, and it is hazardous to the health.
All true. And all exactly what you don't want to tell your audience now. Here's the thing, in as much as I win the internet, which is what this has become, it's not a case of, oh God, I need to look at my health urgently. It's a case of, I don't want this community of people who are telling me something that I already have admitted to knowing to win. And she's rightfully terrified she's gonna lose her channel, because her channel is her main source of income, yeah? And I don't want her to not have income for all, you can argue about the feeders and all of that. But this is her main source of income. This is her job. This is her profession, such as it is. But she knows, and this is the argument she's admitting to here is the argument people are making right now for reporting her channel. This that she's admitting right here is the thing that YouTube could cancel her channel for. And I can't believe she's left it up, quite frankly. But when she's saying she doesn't understand, when she's saying it's not our business, when she's saying everybody eats, fat people eat God, this is the context that you understand, but you are refusing to acknowledge. This is the context.
So that really kind of bothered me, and I actually had, and you're thinking, duh, again, but I actually hadn't thought about that aspect of it. And for me, I feel like that's definitely something that bothers me.
Well, you've now had a year and a half to contemplate it. What changed so that it doesn't bother you now? Just the fact that your channel could get cancelled over it? Or the moral connections to that? Have you stewed in those long enough? Because it was true then, and it's true now. And I'm not actually gunning for her channel to be taken down. I'm engaged with watching her. Yeah, she's interesting. She did have a whole mini rant about this in today's live, where she was like, what would you do, reaction channels? We would do what we do when our favourite TV show gets cancelled. We'd either watch a spin-off, which if you went to another social media platform, or we'd find another show. When a show gets cancelled, you don't quit TV. You find something else to watch. Yeah? So you're like, oh, you're gonna ruin us. Honey, this is a hobby. I have a job. This is a hobby. I enjoy doing it. But the idea that, what you'd be nothing without me. Remember, oh, that was a quote. I still love it. But you'd be nothing without me. we'd still be reaction channels. We'd just be reacting to other people. That's all it is. But listen to yourself here, because suddenly the argument that you're desperately trying to not acknowledge seems a lot clearer when it's coming out of your own mouth. And for the sake of your health and the health of anyone who's watching you who's vulnerable, because there are vulnerable people, you are promoting that in your own way. Be aware of what you're doing and what it can mean to people. And if you're not going to listen to us, if you're not going to listen to reaction channels because they're reaction channels, listen to yourself, because you're the one who said this. You're the one who put this into the narrative, and you just don't like the fact that you're having to deal with it now.
I don't want to be known for that.
Oh dear.
Honestly, when it comes to mukbangs,
That's
it's
a
the
shame.
appeal that I can eat what I want
Fair.
and make more money doing it.
I would say at this point, she did admit during her My 400 Pound Life videos, was it a couple of months ago now? Whenever she was doing her last kick, it might even have been more, it might have been 4 or 5 months now. She did admit at one point, I don't have the clip for this, but feel free to go find it, that she makes, in terms of views, she gets the same number of views for her health stuff, her hardcore health stuff, than she does for her mukbangs. I think she said maybe even a little more. But the thing is, the health stuff is a lot harder for her, whereas the mukbangs are turn on the camera and fill your face. So there's an effort versus payoff balance that goes there. But she doesn't make less on the health, she just has to work harder for it. And it's less fun for her.
Seriously, if I'm honest. But it's not so much more money that it is worth doing that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make healthier recipes and meals, healthier choices, and try to do the doctor's plan, because
oh yeah, at the time she had the plan from the doctor. Spoiler alert, she didn't do it. But she had the plan for the doctor. I think this is why she's reacting so poorly to people criticizing her beige plate, what was it, tater tots and meatloaf, because to her that's healthy, despite that she had an air fryer, she bought a deep fat fryer so she could soak that stuff in oil, but she was eating meat and cheese and tater tots and whatever the dip was, whatever the dip was, and pickles, and to her that's a healthier version of a meal than the fast food junk, and therefore she shouldn't be criticized for it.
I still have my appointment next week on Monday. 1 week from now, there's still time to get back on it and turn it around. I don't want to cry on camera and try to get sympathy. I'm just honestly just going through so much right now. And I don't even know what to do. I just feel like inside I'm screaming for help, and I just feel like
See, this is the really sad thing. The flashes of this we see, the acknowledgement, the understanding, the realization of where she is within herself. That's the real Chantal under all of this. That's the real person who means that she's screaming and crying because she feels so hopeless. And that's why even now, even when she's being a raging asshole, I remember things like this, and I remember feeling like this. And although she does frustrate me to hell and back, I feel so sad for this version of Chantal right now. Because for all you can say, well, it's stupid to put your sympathy in there. Maybe she'll never change. Maybe one day she will finally hit that rock bottom, and she will. We don't know. Everyone fails until they succeed. We don't know. But it's not looking hopeful. But the bitch in the car shoving pizza in her face to prove a point, that's the anger, that's the manipulation, that's the addiction, that's the part that's saying, fuck you and I'll do what I want because that's the part protecting the addiction. But Chantal, the real Chantal, this is her. Crying in her car, realizing that she's in a terribly hard position. And this is the real her that she's desperately trying to scrub out of her videos right now, because it's not a good look when you're making the argument that this isn't harmful.
I'm just so tired. I'm honestly so tired.
It is exhausting to keep going through these things. To know you're in trouble and not be able to stick to it and be so frustrated with yourself and feel like it doesn't matter what help you get, it's not going to work. I mean, but she had access. She had an eating disorder clinic, she had a plan, she had a doctor. But the one thing that she won't do is therapy. She won't look at the root cause because it's hard. And I can't remember if she said this in her live or if she said it in a previous video, but within the last couple of videos, she said something along the lines of, therapy is uncomfortable. And of course it is. You can't deal with this stuff. The stuff you're drowning in food, you can't deal with it without being uncomfortable. But until you do, there's only so much you can do elsewhere.
So tomorrow I think I'm gonna call the weight loss doctor guy and see if he can forward a prescription for like Vyvanse or Topamax.
She can't go on Vyvanse anymore either. She tried, like that was her ace in the hole a couple of months ago. She was like, fine, I'll go back on it. And then the doctor told her no. And she was like, what? And not having it as an option wasn't something she considered, but it's too bad for her anxiety.
And I'm gonna call my GP and see if he can urgently get me in somewhere to help with my eating disorder, because until I do that, I just feel like my depression, my mental state is just not going to improve. And
I'd say it's more circular than you think. They're connected. So your eating disorder is connected to your depression anxiety, your depression anxiety is connected to your eating disorder. But again, and we've said this before, in terms of clinic and help, she has this idea that it will force her to do something. The only thing it will force her to do is be in therapy sessions, which is good, but she's had opportunities to go to therapists, and even recently she's saying, no, it's hard. Well, yeah. But it's a key part in doing anything about this. And that's another reason she understands the truth. This whole video, however much she might try and tamp it down and ignore it, she knows the truth. And the reason she's so angry and the reason she's shoving things in her face is because it's the only alternative she has to facing it. And the truth is, she has to do hard things if she wants to succeed. And hearing those things from reaction channels, hearing them from other people when she doesn't want to, just makes her angry, because deep down she knows it's true. She knows there are things she'd have to change that she desperately doesn't want to do.
And honestly, when you're like this, obviously it's not helping. Sorry. I know these things are very personal, and especially with the amount of trolls and haters and reaction channels that are just gonna feed on this type of video. I probably shouldn't be sharing that stuff, but in the end, I mean, sorry, I'm gonna pick my nose. In the end, I feel it's like the right thing to do. you know?
For the record, I think it would have been the right thing to do, and I wish you had done it. I wish, even if it had meant getting off YouTube, which at the time she could have done because she was still with BB, there was still money coming into the house. Like, she could have survived without her job for a while, even if it would have been difficult. I obviously don't know the details of how much she paid in the apartment, if anything, but she had more options than she has now. Now she's entirely reliant on her own income. So could you imagine, though, the good she could have done herself if she'd just gone and done the thing?
So, anyway, back to square one. Again.
I'm going to actually pause the video here. There's only about another minute of it left, but I think we're done. So that's where this led. She does have another video in terms of talking about why people are so mad over meatloaf. It's just a meal, like, because she does separate binge and meal, even though they're not separate, as clearly is shown here, as clearly is shown through the labels on her channel. It's not a separate thing because you're labeling things as binges in your thumbnail. But even if you separate them in your head, really, that separation is just justification. It's a mukbang, so it's not a binge, when actually the mukbang is the reason to legitimize the binge. You know, you wouldn't be having the mukbang if you didn't want to binge. You wouldn't be doing it, you're like, oh, I don't want to eat this today, but I'm going to do it for my job. That's not the way your mind is working, or at least we've seen no evidence of that being the case, is probably a better way for me to put that. So she did have another video that I don't really want to go all the way through, but I have something to confess, I think was the video. I will link it down below, as I will link this one as well, where she talks about how she couldn't go vegan, and she was confessing about how the fact she'd been binging on meat and dairy, and how she does binge on meat and dairy and on quote unquote normal foods because her food addiction is so bad that she can't stick to other things. She can't stick to veganism, she can't stick to other things. Which I can believe. Veganism is very, very restrictive. It's hard even when you don't have issues with food. But all of this shows how deep her problems with food lie. And for all she's saying, well, it's not part of my channel and stop, and it's none of your business, this is still on channel. And for longer term viewers of her, this is the history we know. And you can erase it from your videos, even though you haven't. I'm sure you will soon, because you know, you never watch our channels, but somehow you always know what's going on. But even if you erase it from your video, your audience as a collective has a memory. You have a lore as part of your channel. And this is part of it. And as much as you wish you hadn't shared it, you did, and there's no going back from that. So be really, really careful when you're going around, when you're striking channels, when you're painting yourself into a corner, because the more you poke people, the more this becomes an issue for you, because she's clearly worried about it enough that she's addressing it again and again and again. Well, there's no point striking my channel because, well, yeah, there is. There is, because you yourself said it. Listen to yourself and then tell us that we can't argue it. For the record, because I'm going to finish up here, I'm in no way saying report these videos. I do not want you to do that. I do not want anyone, Chantal or other channels, to start this stupid reporting war. Just be on the internet and do your thing on both sides, yeah? But to argue the way she is, that it doesn't exist, that it's not a thing, that it's not part of her history and her context, is simply untrue. And I think the faster she forgets that, the faster she willfully ignores that, the more trouble she's going to get herself into. Okay, teacups, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm going to edit this together. Hopefully you got something interesting out of it. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike, rant, do whatever you want. Give me your perspective on it. But pleasure to see you all, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.